Hello and welcome everybody to the late section of this SMITE day of action. Yes, it's been a grueling day, very long and very hard fought, but it's not quite done yet, as we will be bringing you the Xibalba Storm versus the Athenian Sages. Judas Priestley here, joined by Alpha Jackal and AJ. It's been a long day of games, but do you think we could squeeze just one more in?
I think we can squeeze one more set in. Whether it's a best of three or just a two-game set will remain to be seen. With two teams at contrasting ends of the division right now,
Yes.
all sides point that it's going to be a two-game set.
Well, that's what it looks like. We'll have to see if that's how it shakes up as we do enter Game 1 picks and bans. Now, as you mentioned, AJ, both sides on opposite ends of the spectrum here. We have the Athenian Sages 3-0 so far. Well, this is week 4, so they've had 3 weeks so far. They won all of them. And then the Xibalba Storm coming in 0-3. And the more astute of you might have noticed that in those roster changes at the bottom for the Xibalba Storm, as we have Elion moving to the support role, Delny moving to solo, and new to the team, we have Slash being picked up for the jungle. Now, we spoke a little bit off camera about this, AJ, but do you think the Xibalba Storm maybe needed a bit of a shake-up for this game?
I think once you have a 5-week period and you've lost the first 3 weeks, there's definitely cause for concern, and something does need to change. Otherwise, you find yourself in those relegation battles, and that's not where you want to be at the summer. You want to finish in the top 4, avoid the stress of having to face an SOC team that's coming in on a high. And this change, I think, could be what the Xibalba Storm needed. I mean, Slash is a very prominent player in the NA scene, and he's, I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's got very high potential for himself. The one question mark I've got about this roster change is Elio going to support. It's not a role we've seen him in too much. He's been playing jungle consistently for the past God knows how many years. So to see a role swap for him at this point, all eyes are going to be on him.
Yeah, all eyes on him. The good news, I would say, for Elion is that support and jungle are almost similar in play styles. All right, there's a little bit of the laning phase difference. But once you get past those first few levels, the support does begin to rotate and roam. Ganking is, especially effective. Now, you do have to pay a bit more attention to your backline, but even then, with certain supports, maybe not. So possibly you might see Elion on some more of these aggressive style supports. But it is now coming into that squeaky bum time phase of the SCC, the very last few stages. So you want to make sure you get your draft right from the get-go. And the Sages looking at this Yomoja pick to start it off. And Yomoja, hard to argue with coming in as a top pick here.
I mean, I must commend you as well on your use of a football phrase, given that it's coming from an American rather than from the UK. But, fantastic. And, yeah, like you're right, Yomoja is probably one of the top bands right now. No surprise the Athenian Sages take that one up. But Xibalba Storm, like you mentioned, Leon going into more aggressive supports. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some assassin supports go for a Naja or a Fenrir quite early on here.
Yeah, of course, Naja, Fenrir, not quite top picks at the moment, but we've said it quite a few times, especially in the SCC. If you can just get a god that you're comfortable on, and exceptionally comfortable on, as Elion would find themselves picking up these assassins, sometimes that can make a difference. Now, sometimes just playing, the meta is always the best way. If you can actually find your own meta within a game, that works sometimes. We've seen a few of these teams in this phase actually change things up big time. But Izanami Guan Yu, based on the recent changes, no Ishtar in sight, and Kernros being lowly prioritized here. So, the Storm looks like they want to get aggressive. They want to be involved early on, and, they want to battle it out.
Yeah, but they've left open yet another top pick in the Hercules.
Yeah.
Circuit as well coming in to help shut down the healing coming out from the Guan Yu. Also avoids the matchup of Circuit into the Hercules for the Sages. So far, great draft here coming out from the Order side team. The Storm, they've got to look at something here to help manage this. I'm not sure Susano is that pick.
Yeah, it's somewhat strange picking up your jungle early. We'll have to see if they do actually decide to lock it in. You do find sometimes a lot of teams will hold the jungle pick just to make sure it gets the optimum matchup based on what's left. But no, that will be a Susano coming in nice and early. So holding off on the mid and support picks, you would assume, unless that is a Guan Yu. But I don't know, what is it about Susano that maybe the Storm are looking at? Do they have a particularly good matchup into the top 3 of the Sages right now?
It's decent into Circuit, the fact that the mobility sort of gets countered by that teleport from the jet stream. However, going up against the Emoja, I don't like that matchup whatsoever, considering the the ult coming out from you, which will just trap Susanoo in those walls. The Hercules, you're not killing a Hercules as a Susanoo unless it's hyper late game, they have all your items online. So he's going to have to look at either the mid or the dual lane here for his gang potential. Izanabe's going to push that up very far up. So from all eyes right now, I think Xibalba Storm are looking at a mid lane game here.
Yeah, looking to fight through that mid 3v3, as we sometimes see it. Of course, sometimes we see the supports like to stick around in the dual lane, tends to be about until about that tier 1 tower goes down. And Izanami, a god that probably defends up against that quite well. So I think, focusing through the mid lane can make it a very tough time for Nehu, for the Sages. That seems to be the game plan, but Merlin being locked at by the Storm, possibly locked in and will be locked in. Very strong, mid laner to come in here. I'm not sure what would you say the Sages have to go for here?
Well, in terms of mid, Baba Yaga seems to be quite a high preference these days. Could be looked at here. Otherwise, Hebo works out quite well, especially considering they have a strong jungle pick to pair it up with. I mean, if you decide to pick 5 gods at random for your draft, this is probably what you end up picking. There might be a couple tweaks here and there, like, maybe Ishtar or, Matagoras over the Kernanos, Hebo, depending on what you're more comfortable with in mid. But these are some of the top picks in their roles right now. So for Sages, this is probably the draft they would have been dreaming of.
Yeah, it's almost a blind pick draft for the Sages, just coming in off a warm-up game, coming straight into it. Geb! Ooh, that's an interesting one. I have not seen a lot of Geb. Of course, it's not confirmed yet. Maybe does okay into Circuit, can sort of prevent that long extended CC chain, but only some of it. And yes, it will be a Geb. So
very surprising.
Elion likely wanting to flex the Geb early on here. Looks all right, but I mean, we've already seen the Sages draft just looks to be so strong right now.
Yeah, and then Geb also not really particularly great into Emojis, similarly for how Susanoo's not particularly great into it. Gets knocked up by Hebo, rooted by Kernanos. There's a lot of disruption for that Geb rollout. So Xibalba Storm, they're going to have to play this game rather particularly well position-wise to be able to, engage and be able to do things that they want to do.
Well, we appear to see a Xibalba Storm draft that relies on some good execution. Have to see if that execution will come to fruition as we head on in to game number 1 between the Sages and the Xibalba Storm. Now, no surprises across the board. Everyone in their expected positions coming out. But are you expecting the Sages with this strong draft to sort of hold off early on, or do you think they want to be getting ahead and getting aggressive early?
I think you take advantage of the fact that they might not have as much practice as they would have liked with this whole team composition and the roster, and you go at them aggressive from minute 1. You do things that they are not expecting.
Yeah, if you can catch people off guard, the comms for their positions might not be so certain. Of course, Slash coming in, probably not the first time Slash has played with some of these players, but it does make a difference in a competitive scene, You want to be all refreshed and ready, and when you're not feeling 100% comfortable with your team, it can sometimes spill over. We'll have to see exactly how the Storm end up doing that, but all simple on this beginning round of clearing. Looks like Elion and Bitey will have the aggressive start in this duel lane now.
And also a very aggressive starting build coming out from Bitey. These are tier 2 Griffin Wing earrings.
Oh.
It's certainly powerful. It gets you almost hit scan level ability with your 8 basic attacks on Izanami later on. But you lose all your sustain. And with Izanami, that you need sustain in lane because you're almost inadvertently taking minion aggro by the fact you're basic attacking through the wave and onto the opposite and hunter.
Yeah, always, brawling away. It's not really how you want to play this Griffin Wing start. The general idea is you get aggressive with your push, but you don't actually aggress onto the enemy too much because, well, if you start trading and start battling out, the player with sustain is just going to win out, especially once when Jaru gets those, Summer's Dance on a hold on. Was Bitey getting caught by a Riptide, now under half HP and no sustain to speak of. All of a sudden, the pressure switched in this lane. Some aggression in the mid lane, too.
Yeah, 2 solitary potions coming out for Bitey. The multi-pot's the only thing keeping them back from this lane and going back to base. But they managed to go back to base very soon. Once again, just caught out by the root from the Bramble Blast into the Riptide combo. It's devastating here.
Yeah, the way that the Sages have flipped the pressure in this map. But hold on, look at the middle lane. Some big aggression coming up from Jengaru. Jumping on in, Slash low health, has to dash on away. Let's look again into this, but Cirquet Hebo is not the pair you want to come up against. But Slash gets away safely for now. The Sage is still more than willing to put the pressure on.
The question is, when do you ever want to fight a Hebo Circuit? You can't. Early game, Hebo's a bit more weak, but still has his water cannon up every 3 seconds, so you can't fight them. Mid game, Circuit's an absolute monster, and late game, they just one-shot you individually each. You can't fight them ever.
Yeah, it's never going to be an easy engage, so you have to keep an eye on exactly how Slash decides to play. You know, has to be taking the angles. You know, Susano, not the type of guard to burst someone down instantly. Does tend to, you know, manage to one-shot it, but Snatty there, nice grab onto the blue buff. Does not steal it away, though. That was close. So Slash there, helping out Stelny over in this solo lane, and Snatty, no mana to speak of. We'll have to rely on Jengaru to back them up. And Privative gets aggressive. Bitey is low. Tanking shots from this purple buff won't be good. Has to send it into the Titan, into the tower. But we'll be okay to get that assistance. And the Xibalba Storm just lacking a little bit across the map. 500 gold, just sort of passively lost right now.
Yeah, that is huge, given that the aggression we've only really seen in mid lane hasn't yielded any form of invade so far. It's been on the side lanes, and both of those invades were not successful. This is just passive farm. This is just neutral camps coming out so far. This is better splitting coming out from the Athenian Sages. That Rengaru's already up to level 5. Bitey still only level 4. Primitive going to be level 5 shortly, I would imagine, too, after this wave. So overall, like, massive lead for the dual lane. I'd suggest that the jungle might be slightly ahead, given that Briz is ahead in the matchup with Xibalba Storm. As mentioned at the top, they're going to be looking through the mid lane here, Xibalba Storm, so I want to see them, the second Elyon hits level 5, push onto this advantage.
We are seeing Slash going for the Transcendent start, I believe, so maybe not looking to rush the fight in this mid lane, and that seems to be the case, because we're seeing across the map there's more invading or mid-neutral farm contesting from the Sages.
Oh, no.
Here, and that's a really good River's Rebuke. Elyon is the target. Great silence comes on out onto Jengaru, but it does not matter. Elyon falls down for the first blood, and we said the Sages were looking aggressive, and they get the rewards for it.
And nice juicy 76 critical hit coming out there from Jengaru just to silence that Geb up completely. A beautiful, beautiful gank there coming out from the Athenian Sages. Knew their target well, and that's why I don't think Geb's particularly great in this matchup. He just gets caught up by the River's Rebuke, and there's nothing he can do.
Ooh, Delny goes onto the cavalry charge. The damage is good from Snatty. Can they find the last hit? No, they cannot. The Typhoon from Slash will end that aggression, and it's answered back immediately by the Storm. But Jengaru's around. Does Delny know about it? Blink comes in. There's the last breath. Needs another hit. Gets the Cobra's Kiss. Gets the Death Bane, and that shall be enough to take down the Guan Yu. Now Slash low mana, giving chase to Jengaru. Do they have any more CC? They have the Jet Stream, but nothing else to offer, and that was a 1-for-1 on the right-hand side of the map.
Solo for solo, both falling down. I don't know who that favors more. I'm partly suggesting that it favors the Athenian Sages more, given that Snatty gets to get full Golden Blade now, so he's going to be able to clear out those waves more successfully, whilst Delny, he's got a little bit of a power spike coming online with that breastplate of regrowth, but it's not as impactful as I'd say in a laning phase sense than this Golden Blade.
Yeah, and of course the Transcendence already online for Jengaru means that kill ended up being some stacks, whereas only now Slash back into base to pick that up. So slightly ahead in the jungling charts would be Jengaru there, but it's still not too late for them to pressure through this mid lane, and it's certainly not an insurmountable lead. It's about 1,000 gold lead already, which is a healthy start for the Sages, but not exactly something to write home about just yet. Elyon looks to pressure the purple buff of the Sages, but not effective. As, everything calms down yet again. Is anyone maybe needing to do a bit more here? Do you need to see more aggression out from the Storm?
I don't think we need to see particularly more aggression from them, but they're going to go aggressively mid straight away. They force out the Hero ultimate.
Oh no, Slash goes for it all the way, gets an Earthen Shield, and that will keep the Susanoo alive. But that's the type of play we may be looking for. Quick little damage check onto Nehu. Has to keep this Hebo honest. There are the Purification Beads down as well, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see Slash heading back on over there. So much better right there from the Xibalba Storm jungler.
Yeah, go aggressive through mid lane. Try and put this Hebo in an uncomfortable position. Force him to use the Crushing Wave defensively rather than aggressively. And maybe, just maybe, they'll actually find some success. Bitey! Low! He gets out just in time.
Very low there. Renjaro was nailing those shots and appeared to be in the summer stance as well, so doing increased damage on those shots that they had been nailing. So, you know, Bitey maybe a bit of an early warning, but that is the Wild Hunt down in exchange for the Purification Beads, so maybe not expecting to see too much action from Bitey, but, you know, we'll have to see if the Sages look to pay more attention over here. Now, Slash wants to aggress onto Renjaro, knows that Wild Hunt is down. Leon here for the backup, and Privative just firing shots over the wall. It's a stalemate for the shield buffers. Everyone just stands and watches for a little bit.
I think Xibalba Storm should be the ones to secure the shield buff if Slash stays around, but it's definitely going to go his way back to mid, being followed by Primitive all the way. Blue lane clears up, but they're not going to go for the shield buff straight away. In fact, rotation to mid. Ooh, Primitive, unfortunately, they're not to catch it out. The Susanoo with that River's Rebuke, but we'll have that back up quite soon.
Yeah, nice dash there from Slash, and there is some damage coming on to Renjaro. The fight comes in from both sides. Both junglers blink in. Renjaro very low, but the peel comes in. It's not quite enough of a heal from Privative there, so Slash gets the better of Jangaru there, taking off their enemy carry. And that'll just be a washed fight. No Gold Fury attempted, but one pick for the Storm. Again, good signs from them.
It is good signs, the fact that they are 2 and 2 in the kills and deaths columns, but you have a look at the gold, it's still spiraling up for the Athenian Sages. They're 1,000 golden lead, or just around thereabouts. I'd be interested to see just what it is in the experience department as well, because if that graph also is tending towards them experience-wise, it's not going to look good for them in the next few minutes, but no experience, dead even. That's the good sign there, the fact that they are even on experience.
Yeah, it's not that big of a lead, right? 1,000 gold at this stage is very much negligible. Tends to be where experience makes all the difference, those little level differences. But Briz there takes away both mid harpies. Then a nice little shot from that side. And seeing the rest of the map come through, it does seem even across the board, but a bit of an experience difference in the support role. But the support from Privative is good onto Bite. He does a lot of CC, but not a whole lot of damage from Renjaro. Oh, he's actually pressuring this tower. Bastion's not even down yet, guys. That's a free gold. Make sure you pick that up. But the reinforcements come through for the Storm. But the Sages recognize it and back away.
Oh, but did they get out in time? Yes, the Riptide does allow them to just get back into the safety of the tower line before Slash makes his presence known. However, shield buff is forfeit. Xibalba Storm claimed that one for themselves. And it looks like the split of the map has sort of happened. Athenian Sages happy with the pressure over on the right-hand side, can leave that one alone. Xibalba Storm happy to put more pressure on this left-hand side. So there's that split which converges on the mid lane.
Yeah, converges into that lane. We haven't seen too much action just yet over there. We saw that one attempt from Slash onto Nehu, but, you know, the Slash is, still getting plenty of stacks on the Transcendence. Jangaru, however, already finished that Transcendence, so has got involved, but now we're seeing the brawl between the junglers. The Earthen Shield just too early, but Slash, after the fact, will teleport with the Jet Stream. Not quite enough there, but Jangaru, despite having a slight lead in the jungle, ends up forced to back, and that opens up the window for this Pyramid.
That's exactly where Xibalba Storm were going. This would be good for them to claw back some gold if they can pick this one up. Athenian Sages steal it! Snaddy with the rock over the top.
Oh man, that's always disappointing. They'd made all the position, had the Storm, then just, in general, your day is ruined a bit when a boulder comes and lands on your head. And that's exactly what happened there. Snaddy recognized the situation, just walks up, almost in hopes, just like, whatever, I'll throw this out, see if I can get it, and does secure that objective. So despite forcing Jangaru away, Xibalba Storm find themselves now 2,000 gold down.
That is unfortunate for them. It could be even more unfortunate here for Leon. Called out once more. Great CC immunity, but that's not going to save him. Nehu picks up the kill very easily.
Yeah, just swooped in. Great Cataclysm stuns out 3, and then forces Nehu to work a little bit harder for that kill. It was never really going to get out of there. Bitey trying to find some farm over this left-hand side. Is the right-hand side. Snatty and Delny duke it out over this tower, but Snatty gets the better of that exchange as well. Still camping around the corner for Bitey.
Oh no, he's dead.
And it looks like they are in. Bitey, no idea. Now we'll have some idea of it. The invisibility is good, but not good enough, as they do get caught by Jengaru with an invisible Cobra's Kiss. Will set Jengaru off on this cat onto a killing spree. And the Sages might even look at the Skull Fury next too.
It was like a little nature documentary that, where we had all the information, we saw the ambush happening, like they're circling around the prey, and we just knew he was dead the second he entered. Much like Elyon is dead here the second he enters the Gold Fury vicinity. Renjaro picks up that kill, 5-2 for the Athenian Sages, and Gold Fury surely to boot.
Sages really showing right now why they have done so well in this first phase of the SCC. They've been unbeatable. It's been really tough to get a lead anywhere against the Sages. We've seen them put up good fights. They absolutely dominated the Valhalla Valkyries just last week as well. It's been really good showing from this team so far. So, you know, they're going to take some stopping, and the way you do that is with some good organization. But right now, the Storm with all these changes, this is probably the worst opponent they could have come up against.
Absolutely. I mean, Athenian Sages, they look on course to be able to attend SMITE Masters, with the fact that they will top the group if they go 5-0. And that's exactly the goal for these top-end teams, is to try and play that sort of play against some SPL-level opposition. Just test your mettle. See what you have, see what you're able to offer, see if you can actually break them down as well. But I'd like to draw your attention to something. Erosion, built by Jengaru. Wow. Fantastic pickup. I think this is brilliant, and like almost like 4D chess level brilliant. He's going to be the one diving in on the back line, and what's Geb going to do immediately the second the gets to the back line? Turn around and shield. What happens when you have erosion? The shield's reduced, and you get a burst of movement speed. So Elyon's not going to be as effective in helping peel this kill off the back line. It's a phenomenal pickup.
Well, we'll have to see if there are any more choices that can really make a big impact. There's always these clever little picks and choices with these builds. They can make a real difference, you know. It's not just the god you are playing, it's not just how you play them, it's also the build you opt to use as well. Now, Slash, fully aware that this invade attempt is coming through. When do they opt to make their move, though? Jengaru also waiting and biding their time, so not too much happening over there. So, you know, not too much action to happen as the right-hand side, a blue buff invade attempted from Snatty yet again. Snatty just having the winning of this solo lane, so having a great time over there, and it's all very quiet, but the Sages are quietly building up a 5,000 gold lead right now.
Well, you say quietly, I say the fact that 2 towers are down, Gold Fury's gone, the Pyromancer was also stolen. It's been subtle, but it's been just pushed out consistently through objectives and through good rotational play by the Athenian Sages. And they're going to look at yet another addition to their collection, a second Pyromancer, potentially on the cards here.
Already in position is Privative, getting their ward coverage up, but Xibalba Storm more than happy to defend this, and in fact, if they recognize that the Sages aren't quite in position, might even pull it for themselves. Now, Delny rotated in, wants to group on early, a little bit earlier than Snatty, who is now onto the scene. It's just Privative again, duking it out with the rest of the Storm. No one wants to commit just yet. In fact, both Snatty and Jengaru opted to take a bit of extra farm, but there's Nehu dashing in with that Tidal Surge coming through. Doesn't quite connect with the River's Rebuke, though does Privative. Nehu gets out on low health. Privative gets out with plenty of health and nothing doing in the middle lane just yet.
That's 2 for 1 in terms of people having to back to base. In fact, none. Nehu's going to be staying out here. Look at the rotation. Look at the wraparound from Jengaru. All the way in the backside right now. They have no idea where the circuit is.
Just the front line to contest this Pyromancer, Delny and Elyon. Elyon does have the Cataclysm. That'll make a big impact. The Sages still manage to take this objective down. Now, Nehu aggressed on by Delny, but this Guan Yu doesn't quite have enough damage. Can Briz follow up with anything over the wall? Will not be the case, and another objective goes the way of the Sages. But a brawl on the left as Slash turns the rotation over here. Bitey swinging. Bitey dashes in. Renjaru dashes out. Not sure if the Storm are going to be able to close the distance. Elyon with a knock up from behind the wall. Primitive low health. Now Bitey finally catches the slow onto Renjaru. They will get the kill they were looking for onto this Kernanos. Elyon falls in the process as Primitive manages to slither away.
Hey, support for ADC, I'm happy with that trade, but I might not be so happy if my jungler also falls down. Nehu blinks in, gets the kill. See you later. that is yet another pickup there for the Athenian Sages, just finding win after win after win.
And so much had to be committed by the Storm there just to take down Renjaru. They finally did it, but trading 2 for 1 is never a benefit, especially when you've had to use so much to get there. So Xibalba Storm, I don't know, what do they need to adjust here? Do they need to maybe calm things down and take a simpler defense?
I think they just need to be grouped up as a 5 right now, because most of the time these fights have been happening, they've been split fights. Briz has either been caught out in the mid lane alongside Slash, or Bitey's over on the left-hand side, with Slash rotating over there as well. We haven't seen a proper 5-man group from the Xibalba Storm yet, and their comp is sort of built for that, in a way.
Yeah.
It's a great teamfight composition, with the dive coming out from Delny and Slash, the peel from Ellie on the backside for Bitey and Briz, who've got high damage potential.
Yeah.
It's a good all-round draft here for the Xibalba Storm to teamfight. They've just not had that opportunity yet.
And when you find yourself so far behind as well, it can feel awkward to find the right moment to teamfight. And even on that Pyromancer, it looked like a teamfight might brew. Then we saw Slash and Bitey all the way on the left-hand side just to try to deal with Renjaru. So the Sages splitting the map wide open really effectively right now. And it's paying off for them. You know, they found this 6k gold lead somewhat passively. It hasn't been too much fighting to speak of. It's been little picks here and there. But the Oni Fury, very, very low. The front line again going to contest. River's Rebuke comes out, and the Sages do secure yet another objective. Now Delny so low into the jaws of Renjaru, and Elion lifted up, swarmed in, gets a 5-man Cataclysm, but it's not even going to matter because Snatty will driving strike them into the wall and send Gab back into the earth.
How many times have you ever seen a 5-man Cataclysm, by the way?
Almost never.
Ellicott just passively gets one, and it doesn't even matter. That feels horrible, by the way. When you've just done the thing your character's designed to do, engage 5-man stun for everybody to follow up on, there's no follow-up. Oh no, yeah. I'm dead. It feels horrible, and it's just, at this point, it's the Athenian Sages going through the motions of wrapping this game up, it feels like. Because Xibalba Storm have been able to offer almost no counterplay once the Athenian Sages have got going.
Yeah, the ball started rolling and really not stopped since then. It all started with Snatty throwing that excavate into the Pyromancer, and just from that point, it's been all in favor of the Sages. Now, Nehu and Slash brawl it out, but Slash is not winning this.
Blink.
The jet stream away, the blink, and the knockup from Nehu is enough. That's a solo kill for the substitute Slash. Not going to be the best feeling right now in the Storm. Need to find a way to turn the tide.
Oh, it's going to be starting with the blue buff, rock, and see you later. He's just denying everything with the boulder. It's hilarious to see.
It's so disappointing from the side of the Storm. Everything you try to do is just shut down by Snatty and the rest of the team. 7,000 gold in the lead, 8,000 experience in the lead, which is all still being felt, of course. Only 20 minutes into this game. Do the Sages maybe just make a look at the Fire Giant here, or is that maybe the risky play here? Do you need to keep calm?
It's not super risky in the fact that if Xibalba Storm take it, they're suddenly going to come back and even out the game. It might slow the pace of the game down for the Athenian Sages, which is maybe why they're not looking at it right now. They want to, secure maybe a fight beforehand before taking it. Alternatively, they may feel like they just don't need it. They've been able to win fights pretty handily without it. They can push down Phoenixes and towers pretty one-sidedly at this point, I should say. Maybe they just feel better without going for it.
Oh, Jengaru jumping on in onto Slash does so much damage. Elion cannot peel enough. There's a good silence coming out from Bitey. Jengaru uses the beads, though. Even with a Riptide in, like, reserve for the Sages, that's just a cheap pick for Serket to pick up.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate that Elion could almost do nothing. He expends most of his kit to try and peel off this Serket, and the Serket's just hammering away, just ignoring everything that the game's doing, to the point where it's futile. Slash does fall down there. But again, no grouping from the Sages to really push down this Fire Giant. Still over on the left-hand side is Renjaru. Maybe he wants to try and do a solo push down of this Phoenix by himself, while the rest of the team just controls this right-hand side.
It's looking like that might even work. It's been difficult for the Storm to deal with the rest of the team. Now, of course, Renjaru has actually fallen down twice, so has been the the key target for the Storm, I suppose. But once they're able to get fully online, and they're almost there, by the way, just finishing off that Titan's Bane, it looks like. And when they actually start grouping with their team, Renjaru's going to be in a really good position. Now, finally, the Fire Giant gets started up by the Athenian Sages. The Xibalba Storm frontline nearby again, but the backline is nowhere to be seen. And Elion gets another double Cataclysm, tries to roll away with the Earthen Shield, still just about alive, but will still fall down. Jengaru on a rampage. The Sages with the Fire Giant. The Storm have nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, they can't even get a tier 1 on the left-hand side because Snaddy is TP'd all the way to stop Bitey from getting just some form of consolation prize. But they're looking to try and end this game without any towers going down. That will be... that's an impressive statement victory if you're able to get that done.
Yeah, even with 3 Bastions still up, and Snaddy 1v2ing, Slash just trying to peel for Bitey. The Excavate comes through. Look at the damage that has been done, and the angle from Nehu is enough. The River's Rebuke is even better. Snaddy chases down 2. They take down the 2, and now they're looking at this Phoenix as well. I don't know what they can do about it. The Xibalba Storm, there's a runic bomb already. A TP comes through from Delny, so they can retreat, but get shoved back into danger. As the cavalry charge defensively as well. Another pluck from Snaddy, driving strike away. Left side Phoenix down for the Storm. Sage is just running riot here.
Yeah, this is almost bet against boys at this point. That's just due to the experience level and the difference of goal between the two teams. Athenian Sages, whatever's on the map is theirs. Their Titan is theirs. Xibalba Storm's Titan is probably also theirs very soon. I mean, look at that, just a pure shoot up in the graphs yet again. And just, the worst part is, it gets steeper and steeper and steeper as the game seems to be going on, so the snowball has just compounded itself.
Yeah, I'm sure Snaddy is having an absolutely great time right now, just running around the map, fully reclined, just having a good time. It has actually fallen, the 3 members still deathless for the Sages, but Snaddy's just been creating so much space with their aggressive play, just constantly. You mentioned earlier, shutting down whatever the Storm do objective-wise with that boulder, but even without that, still finding these knockups, finding these stuns, and it just feels so good when you're connecting with everything on Hercules.
It's got to be one of the most, satisfying things in the game to be playing a Hercules and just rocking everything and just it working out. Oh, they have a blue buff? Rock. Oh, they're trying to take an objective? Rock. Oh, you think you're getting away with invisibility? Rock. Oh, there's no escaping. He's just having the time of his life, like you mentioned.
I'm sure Snaddy had some practice bowling before this game or something, because still just been nailing with those rocks. I don't actually believe there's been one that's missed, in fact. Snaddy diving at Phoenix on their own, 1v2, finally has some backup coming through. But now it's just a case of what the Sages want to do. They don't have long left on this Fire Giant buff, so they still have 3 members around. Yet Renjaru, not one of the members around, however, so the structure damage is lacking because the Pyromancer has been picked up. Not the runic bomb, though. Renjaru not interested in that just yet. So gets the objective somewhat for free, and Snaddy looking for a final pluck before backing away as this Fire Giant buff despawns.
I think at this point he'll much rather have the runic bomb than he would have the golden experience from taking the objective. Primitive
looks at it.
Also doesn't want it.
Snaddy's pick? Yeah.
Hey!
Snaddy gets a bomb.
There we go. Somebody finally picks up the bomb, and they're going to use that to push down one of these 2 Phoenixes that are remaining.
Well, we'll have to see which one they do choose to pick. Bitey just trying to find some farm and does so. Does manage to get those harpies despite Snaddy being very angry about it, just swinging at the air like, damn! Can't believe I let them get some farm here. And still wanting to be a frightening presence because the Fire Giant's not even up yet. It's too early to zone. It's too early to engage. But Xibalba Storm, I don't know. They don't really seem too interested in contesting this one.
They can't push in the contest at this point. They still need a good 5, maybe even 10 minutes before they're going to be at an even state of this game. The good news for them is that experience is going to start mattering less and less. 4 level 20s and level 19 for the Athenian Sages. They're going to catch up naturally that way. The bad news is that they still have to catch up in gold. Now, looks like 3 full builds on the side of the Athenian Stage. 4, sorry. So once again, that gold lead is actually going to start shrinking more and more. This is probably the last true 10,000 gold lead plus that the Athenian Sages will have.
Well, now they're just walking right on into the right-hand side. Phoenix led by Snatty. First runic bomb connects and does a ton of damage to this Phoenix. But Merlin, of course, very good at this Phoenix defense. Now Jengaru by the mid lane as well, just to be a little bit of an extra factor, split pushing on this left-hand side as this Phoenix is about to come up. Slash will go over to meet them, but the right-hand side is where the true engagement is yet again. Snatty dives in, right side Phoenix goes down. Jengaru and Slash eyeing each other up through the walls. No one opting to commit just yet either. One Phoenix down on right, 5 minions on left. The Sage is looking to go into the middle lane.
Yeah, they've already used a runic bomb on that right-hand side, but they can just push in here for absolutely free, and Elyon is gone.
Elyon with another 4-man Cataclysm that still doesn't quite connect. Primitive there, throws up the River's Rebuke defensively. Delny thrown into it. Jingaru gets shut down by Slash, but Nehu shuts down Slash in return. Now Briz finding some damage. Gets a nice Vortex as well. Primitive low, goes under the Phoenix. Briz can't find the last couple of shots. Rinjaru trying to take down this Phoenix. Their health bars are so low though. Only nearby. Snatty split pushing on the left with a wave of fire minions will be enough to take down that revived Phoenix. It was a slight breath from the storm. Nothing too much as this Phoenix again gets aggressed on, gets taken down, and Snatty shoving Briz into a corner. Briz trying to retreat. Rinjaru to cut off the angle. Just diving for this Merlin. Can't quite have enough damage due to Elyon respawning. The Sages will back off, but the Storm are all but out of it.
For having 3 Phoenixes taken in one fell swoop, that's probably about as best as it could have got for Xibalba Storm. But they managed to kill Jangar, they managed to kill Nehu, they almost killed Primitive as well, so their Titan does survive by the way of 2.5 kills. I'm counting Primitive as half a kill with his like super low health bar. And that buys time for Xibalba Storm to once again get more farm, get more items. It's just Elyon that needs experience right now. Everybody else starting to finish up their 5th item, just one more item to go before their full build. It's gonna start turning here for Xibalba Storm if they can hold out just a little bit longer. That being said, 5 minions going to start pulling his base left, right, and center, and not just a figure of speech. That's literally left, right, and center because all 3 Phoenixes now. And they're gonna have to stay and defend those.
And Fire Giant's still not respawning just yet. We have about a minute until Enhanced Fire Giant, so the Sages might actually end up with an Enhanced FG. Not that they really seem to need it, but the Xibalba Storm might decide they have to make something happen at this stage. They are mostly level 20 across the board. It is just Elyon on the Geb, who doesn't really need to hit level 20, so it's all about what they can make happen. They are roaming as 5, who shall be their target. It looks like Snatty might be in some trouble. Gets pulled in. Nice Cataclysm Vortex as well. Briz will take down this Hercules. It's a great pick to have. Now you just need to make sure you don't lose too much else. Jengaru is just going to shove a bunch of minions into the base. I doubt they're going to go for the full-on back door, but maybe this will just slow down the pace of the Sages a little bit.
Yeah, that is the problem, having 5 people just push up and leave no one to defend against 3 waves of 5 minions. So we can just push a wave in casually, and all of a sudden your Titan's taking about 20 to 30% of its health. 2 fire waves get in, it's game over. So they have to send somebody back to defend. And that means, despite the fact they have this 4 versus 5 advantage, they have to give it the Fire Giant once more. And look at the timer, 30 minutes exactly, it is now enhanced.
Oh, it's now enhanced. However, they're instead looking for the pick. Now it's just the front line here. Who do they target? It'll be both of them as the River's Rebuke will lock him in. Nice Phantom Shell, though, to keep the Xibalba Storm safe. That's the frightening defense that the Athena Sages can do when you try to aggress onto their Fire Giant. Now they will turn their eyes to this objective. Snatty has respawned. It will be included, but the Xibalba Storm, Elyon specifically rolling on in, gets right to the edge but doesn't commit any further. The Fire Giant goes to the Sages yet again.
And they're going to go aggressive for the fight as well. Delny, just before it's being pulled, Elyon goes CC immune with that rollout. It's going to be safe as well. They're going to have to fight underneath the Titan here. Or are they looking to defend this Phoenix? It's just spawned, it is weakened. And don't forget, the Hands Fire Giant means that no backdoor protections once they go in without minions. So that just falls down as a formality.
When do the Sages go in? This is the all-important question. Nice knock up there. Elyon takes a lot of damage. Snatty goes in first. Wants to get on in. Titan just above 50% HP. Sages have multiple avenues of entry. Which one do they opt for? Snatty looking for a pluck. Delny looking to frighten away these minions. It's tough to get in this stage, even with the enhanced fire giant. Delny forced onto the cavalry charge, goes back in. Maybe ill-advised, but still survives to remember. Jengaru comes in, dashes through two. The Titan is so low, the runic bomb doesn't even connect. There's the Wild Hunt. Elion shall fall, and the Titan goes down. The Athenian sages with the performance we expected of them right there with an easy first game victory.
But 31 minutes, 35 seconds, that looked a slower victory than it probably should have been, given that they've snowballed themselves into a 9,000 goal lead by minute 15. They were in complete control over the first two fire giants. They were in complete control over all objectives. And then it just slowed down for seemingly no reason. But in the end, a victory is a victory, and that can chalk that up to just one more needed for this week.
Yeah, and that's been how we've seen the Athenian sages play so far this phase. They sort of play in a way that's not action-packed and explosive. It's just very consistent, reliable Smite. It's very impressive to see, you know, and looking at the stats, you know, only a few deaths across the board. Privative, the support going undying, 0-0-14. Take that every day of the week as a support player, and it just looks really, really good. You know, and when you see the Xibalba Storm, especially with substitutes coming on in, not even substitutes, but roster changes coming in, it's very tough to deal with a team playing so organized.
Yeah, it is, like you mentioned, probably the worst week they could have faced the Athenian Sages, the worst opponent for them to face on this first week of rotations. For Xibalba Storm, I think the late game went better than they probably would have expected it to, especially that base defense when they lost all three Phoenixes, but they got a few kills. They managed to get a pick off as well onto the Hercules late on in the game. I would like to see a few changes, though, personally. I would like to see El Leon going on to a more aggressive support than what something like a Geb is, just so he still harkens back to his jungle roots.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how the Xibalba Storm try to change things up in game number 2 after this very, very short break. Don't go anywhere. And we are back, everybody, with the Athenian Sages versus the Xibalba Storm. It was business as usual for the Athenian Sages as they took down a very, very convincing first victory to this much-changed Xibalba Storm lineup. But, AJ, if you're the Storm right now and you have to get ready for this second game against probably the top team in this current phase, what do you do about that? How do you manage to adjust to avoid what happened in game number 1?
Well, you look at the draft and go, maybe giving them some of the top 5 picks in each role is not a good idea. And also, let's maybe put Elion on something a bit more aggressive than the Geb, because the Geb just wasn't the pick that it needed to be. Those two changes to the draft, massive difference in those games.
Yep, Geb was not the pick. Let's see what the pick actually ends up being as we head on into game number 2, picks and bans. So lots of top picks available at the moment. That's why, you know, we have been seeing a lot of the gods like the Hercules getting banned away, but you've also got to ban out things like Hell and Aphrodite, as we do see a Hell ban coming on through. Is it just a case of the Sages maybe have to work around this and maybe take some of those picks for themselves?
I mean, I think with how comfortable they were in game number 1, the Sages can feel comfortable about drafting some comfort picks. They didn't have to worry about necessarily getting the meta picks as they were really focused on in that game number 1. Just have a look and see what they perform well and what they leaned on a little bit. It can ban out a couple of things targeted that ways. Or again, just go meta bans completely here for the Sages.
Yeah, we do see the Circuit banned away, so that's an adjustment that the Storm are making, as they have also opted to go for the first pick. Marticarus banned away as well, so they've surely got something in mind. Sages take away the Yamoja. Let's see what this all-important first pick for the Storm. Did you say Anubis?
No, I said Hercules, but I would love Anubis.
Oh, right, no. Yeah, I was going to say Anubis right now. Yeah, why not? Honestly, bringing something completely different. Don't do this. Do not do this to me, Phoenix. Do not do this. But honestly, something like that, I think, is maybe what we need to see from the Storm. Yeah, I think they need to show us something completely different, because what they had in game 1 needs to just kind of go away, and maybe Vamana's the answer to that.
Vamana could be. By the way, our production who just did the most maniacal evil laugh when they hovered the Anubis. So that just caught us completely off guard a little bit. But yeah, Vamana, I think he's a very strong pick right now. Still hasn't been touched with the nerfs. Those will be coming later on when the patch does hit. And he's as you saw in the SPL, it's just proven to be time and time again one of the strongest picks in the game right now. So no surprise to see him pick that first pick here.
Yeah, of course, when you leave Hercules open, you tend to see Hercules go to the other team, but that does still leave the Xibalba Storm to maybe run back the Guan Yu. It didn't have the best matchup in game number 1, especially because Snaddy was just running riot with these boulders on this Hercules. So, you know, Snaddy sure happy to run that one back, especially into the matchup of Guan Yu, but still plenty on the table. And Cardano still available, of course. You've still got a lot of junglers that you could still opt for as well. I wonder if they maybe won't go for the Susano, especially as early as they did previously. But Athena coming through. This is maybe more in the realm of what we were looking for from Elion.
I do like the Athena pick, as we mentioned, more aggressive, can be played in the jungle, so will have had some practice on in the past. And with Slash, as not been mentioned so far, but was formerly a solo laner before joining onto this roster, Vamana could very well go into the jungle here. Again, just flexing on something that he will have been practiced, will have been comfortable with. We have seen Vamana jungle in the past, and it has worked out well. Maybe not into the Hebo, but you can't pick and choose your matchups, really, if you're first picking the Vamana. Yeah,
and Hebo coming through was really, really good showing just now for Nehu, and you know we may end up seeing, you know, a bit of a change up. It could still go into the jungle, of course, this Hebo, so still a bit flexible. Toth ban away, as is Da G, which is not a card we've seen too much of lately, but maybe it's something that Jangaro is pretty much a fan of, and I have seen some Da G being played by Jingaro. Yu Huang ban as well. All of the safe mid laners away. It almost feels like the Sages are forcing Briz to run back that Merlin.
If they can force him to run back the Merlin, then the Hebo in mid lane would just run straight through him, especially with the fact that Athena might not be around all that often. The Defender of Olympus does take some time to come and crash down, and Hebo will kill you 3 times over in that channel period. But we need to see what jungler is being picked up here, or we leave the jungle for last. Support Nox coming in. Very strong counter to the Athena. Just play defensively, play reactively. The second Athena dashes or blinks in, silence field on the ground, disperse for the taunt, and
put it away,
please.
Put it away. I'm not listening to that Anubis coming through. You even try to be clever about it, Phoenix, and give us 2 at the same time, but I'm not having it. The Susano, if they do run it back, it wouldn't totally surprise me. Susano actually does a bit better, I would say, into this current Sages draft. You know, Rama and Hebo both struggle a bit, and Nox doesn't do too great in the Susano. It's very mobile, but the Agni coming through. I actually really love the Agni pickup here, and I think that is maybe what Briz needs a bit better than this Merlin pickup, because Agni just outranges Hebo straight up.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of an issue that he stays at sort of the same distance as a Merlin would. I'd say there's always like 4 distances for mages. So you have your close, up and personal mages like your Hebo. You have your mid-range mages, so your Agnis and your Merlins. Your sort of max distance ranges, the ones that jump in and jump out, sort of like your Baba Yagas would sit in that sort of area. And your super long range mages, so your Thoths, your Ra sort of sit back in the back as artillery mages. So Agni builds that same role as that Merlin and sits that sort of mid-range distance. So Hebo's still going to be able to find some time to poke this god out.
I'm interested to see the Wheelix pick come through from the Sages. It's not
Disgusting
something
combo.
that... It is a disgusting combo. There's a reasonable amount of setup with the Hercules and the Hebo coming through, but the Storm in general, there is not a single leap on that team. So, you know, it maybe doesn't counter out anyone specifically. You are relying on Snaddy and Nehu to be connecting with these knockups. However, we saw Snaddy in game number 1 hitting absolutely plenty of them. So I can maybe see Jengaro having a pretty good time with this Wheelix anyway.
I think he's going to have a phenomenal time with this pick. I mean, the Hebo in mid lane just knocking people up left, right, and center, into the pools, into the silence field from Nox. Who survives that? If you find me a god that survives that, I will give you a tenner.
Every god that can build the Sands of Time upgrade, the alternate timeline. There we go. I finally found it. Yeah, any god that builds alternate timeline, AJ. What are you talking about? And we'll have to see if anyone opts for alternate timeline as we head on in to game number 2 between the Storm and the Athenian Sages. Now, there is not a single Sands of Time on the Xibalba Storm, so there will be no one surviving that combo.
And my tenner is safe for yet another week. Well, let's see if Xibalba Storm can stay safe in this early game. They managed to survive quite well early on, but their buff camps didn't have the same fate. The Athenian Sages were quite aggressive on those invades, and they could very well be so again this game.
Yeah, it seems like they're going to be safe enough, and everyone going for this similar start. Interestingly, we're not seeing any purple buff invades coming out from any of them. Yeah, all of them dragged straight away by the Sages, but no one wants to go too heavily just now. Everyone's sort of going at their usual pace coming on out, but the Xibalba Storm actually get to lane quite a bit earlier than the Athenian Sages, so maybe they can set up some pressure in this dual lane again and hopefully don't lose it the same way they did previously.
Bruce just tried to pick up the red buff despite the fact he had the speed buff. But he even doubled back to try and pick it up again. He just, unfortunately, he's got that buff. And, well, Slash can be forced back into the safety of his tower. Elion and Bites got to lane so quickly just because they cleared all 3 at the same time. Solo lane, very aggressive. So, in fact, Bede's already forced from Delny.
Yeah, Bede's forced from Delny, but Snaddy also low health, so no one feeling quite happy enough here. And again, some pressure in this dual lane. Elion low health, but as is Renjaru. Does actually have some sustain in the kit this time, though. Does Bitey, so more than happy to take these early trades.
Oh, into a good taunt, but no Bramble Blast coming out just yet. There it is from Bitey. Pokes Renjaru out a little bit, but nothing too much. Renjaru should be safe to sustain back up with his health potion, multi-potion, and also with some basic attacks, thanks to the Hunter's Cowl and Spike Gauntlet.
Let's see. Ooh, that's a good pluck coming in from Slash. Good combo as well. Stun onto Jengaro. Not going back in with the jet stream. So, well, considering what they want to do, but not getting too ahead of themselves just yet. Xibalba Storm want to play it safe and keeping it simple in this early stages.
Shield buff goes the way of Xibalba Storm, who are keeping pace with the Athenian Sages this game. Yes, they're about 100 gold down, but that's most likely due to just some camp splitting, or the fact that they managed to get 1 extra set of mids than them. Xibalba Storm looking for a gank early on this left-hand side. Renjaru's the target.
blinking already. That is a good beads from Rinjaro, but the damage is still good from Slash, and it shall be enough. That will be the first blood for the Xibalba Storm, and Slash having a good time on this Susano pick so far.
Yeah, much better matchup for him in this game than it was in the previous one. Has a lot more freedom to go around into the backline and do what he wants, rather than the emotion which was hampering him last game. And I think he also has got a much better matchup in the jungle-wise. Doesn't have to really worry about Jangaru going aggressive and stunning him out for a few times. Doesn't have to worry about the fact that the ultimate wouldn't really be effective against him. Delby going to be in some trouble here, though.
He gets lifted up as their blue buff gets contested by Slash and Jangaru. Slash doesn't know, though. Gets knocked up. The damage is pretty good, and the blue buff will be secured by Slash. Again, helping out Delny over here. And Jangaru not quite having the success of their opposing jungle right now as Elion steps up to the purple buff. We've seen a few steals like this today. Good silence and a good root as well will be enough to keep Elion away. But signs of life from the Storm. They're defending buffs on one side and invading buffs on the other side.
I just love the imagery, though, of a Nox holding the support just hostage and says, no, you will watch us take this buff that you tried to invade. You will pay for your sins, and you will just stand there and do nothing about it.
Mandatory watch of us take the purple buff. Joe just locked in place, of course. Elion on the Athena, no ranged attack available to just sneak that one through the wall, although that would be pretty cool if there was a reach available. We did see Genetics earlier on, the steal a purple buff with just a basic attack from Nox, and silence there means that Primitive is going to get aggressed on actually by Bitey. That's a good cripple, good knockup as well from Slash, and that's another kill. This Susano in this duo lane. It's not going so well for the Sages this time on the left-hand side of the map.
No, Xibalba Storm doing what they needed to do, just get off to an early, aggressive, good start. They found it in the duo lane. In fact, 2 kills for Slash now. I wonder how far ahead he is. I want to have a look at the experience when I look at the gold that they have total. Because that would just tell us how much of a lead he's managed to build up, whether Jangaru's just been able to go ahead and, farm up a little bit more. And you have to say, it's underwhelming for the fact that they've got 2 kills up.
Yeah, and we can see it there. Big difference with Snatty now. Caught this Hercules, not quite tanky just yet. Slash goes in, and Slash is down for his 3rd kill of the game. Nehu forced to dash on away with that crushing wave, but it's still not far enough. Jangaru and Slash brawling it out. Elion here on the scene as well. Everything going in favor of the Storm right now.
Yeah, that's a 3rd kill for Slash, as mentioned, up to 3-0. In fact, 3rd assist there for Elion, so just combining well the jungler and the support. They could be combining here yet again as Jangaru pulled out of position.
Oh, coming in again aggressively. Nice flip there from Jangaru, but Slash is out of mana, and Jangaru wants to take this fight. And that's the gravity surge available to them. If they can connect with it, Jangaru still giving chase. Slash on the retreat. Delny back on in. Jangaru going all the way in. Really wants this kill. The damage is great from Delny, though. Frightens away that Awilix, who still can't quite have the impact they're looking for yet.
I loved what Elion was doing there, though, just constantly putting Jangaru back into combat to stop that blink from coming out as much as possible. Dashing into the Awilix, puts him in combat. Waits around the corner, throws a spear, puts him back in combat, puts that 3-second timer on that blink. And just means that Jangaru cannot close that distance for Slash.
Yeah, really good play, really heads-up play from Elion. That's sometimes what you get switching from jungle to support. You go, what would I hate the enemy to support to do right now? And that's exactly what you do. Sometimes it is that simple, but Primitive doing what Bitey hates and stealing away that shield buff. We'll have to see exactly how Elion continues to play, but so far in this game, having a much better time of it than they did on the Geb.
Yeah, I love the switch up, and as we mentioned, it might have been a pick he's got some experience with from his jungle days, but looking a lot more comfortable here on this Athena. Some more impact that he's had in the last game overall in his first 6 minutes than the entirety of the 31.5-minute game last time.
No 5-man Cataclysm, though. And, that's one thing that Athena just can't quite do. Maybe if you get a 5-man Taunt, could be quite as equivalent. Now, Nehu recognizes they're in some danger. Elion tries to continue to put them in danger, but doesn't quite connect. Elney knocked up over the wall and just, happy to carry on and walk in and trying to ignore Snatty. There's a minion wave in the tower, and yet again, get to this sort of 7-minute stage, and everything tries to slow down just a little bit, because now Gold Fury is an option for both teams, and everyone wants to play a bit more seriously just now.
Mid-camp's going to be secured. I think that was at least one going to Xibalba Storm, if not both of them. Otherwise, the Athenian stages do split that 1-for-1. Hebo going to be chased out of mid lane there. Slash looking for the wraparound by Jengar and Privative, just making sure that the jungler and the supporter are accounted for.
Wow, Slash just wants to go in, actually. Didn't get caught by the knockup, so decides that's their cue to go. Now, Nehu's around the corner. This will be a perfect setup for the Gravity Surge. Nice taunt from Elion. They'll recognize the problem their teammate was in. Does use the Purification Bead. Still takes a ton of damage, but Briz dishes out in kind and Slash back on the scene. Can't find enough damage. The Typhoon will not find the kill. Slash low health. Renjaru firing shots. Bitey coming all the way around the backside. Rama goes to the sky. Slash takes one, takes two, dodges out that third shot. Now, Bitey finally on scene for the cleanup crew. Can't quite connect with that root though, and that should be enough to end this fight. But everyone gets low, yet everyone gets out.
Huge fight involving 8 players. First, the Soul Lane are still having a time with their life, just boxing each other over on that right-hand side. But
sipping pina coladas.
Yeah, just, you know, on vacation still. It's not quite time for them to take their return flight back to the mid lane. But the rest of the fight over on that mid side, I thought when Elion got that taunt off onto Nehu and then was subsequently pulled back in, that he was going to get absolutely slaughtered. Just 4 people surrounding him. Probably should have been, if you're the Athenian Sages, that most likely looks like a kill dropped on a level 6 Athena when you have a level 9 Hebo at the time. But they do well to keep them all alive for the rest of that fight, because Xibalba Storm, they fought well.
Fought really, really well, and did everything they could to find the damage, but it just wasn't quite enough. There seems to be a bit of an awkward stage where no one's quite online just yet. You know, we're seeing Briz with a Chronos Pendant, means they don't have a ton of damage. Slash does have the Jotun's Wrath online, but no Hydra's Lament, so to speak of. And Jengaro on the other side still doesn't have the Transcendence stacked up, so everyone's caught on, sort of caught in this weird stage where they're not quite ready to blow up the enemy. And we had an extended engagement, which we don't tend to see too often, but no kills just yet, because the Gold Fury is the target everyone wants, and that's what everyone is trying to get set up for. Renjaru gets the Derol caught, though. Another nice taunt from Elion, who's finding much more success in this Athena, as we've already said.
Well, yeah, Xibalba Storm, they were targeting Renjaru. They didn't want an objective. They wanted a kill. But instead, they might just find a Purification Beads. And it all makes sense that they're looking over on this left-hand side. Look at the level disparity in the Hunters. Level 11 versus level 9 in favor of Bitey. Just keep playing through your fed ADC. In fact, the stack difference as well. Fully stacked Devourer's Gauntlets versus 37 out of the required 50 for Renjaru.
Primitive and Jengaro looking at Slash now. Blink comes out from the Awilix. Jetstream to safety, but it won't be that safe. But a nice triple knockup comes through. Now, Elion providing some backup, and Renjaru finds the snipes from the sky. Nice silence field to lock down any more aggression. Bitey just firing off shots, but the retreat is great from the Sages. They get the pick they wanted, and they get out safely.
Yep, finally putting themselves on the board. Finally shutting down the jungler that's just caused them so many issues, and they pick up that bounty as well.
Yes.
So that means they get themselves a little extra gold from getting that kill, a little bit of extra experience as well. And that's why, despite the fact that it's 3-1, you see Athenian Sages even in terms of gold, and probably even in terms of experience as well.
Yeah, pretty much even across the board now. Of course, that shutdown did go on to Renjaru as well, who had been struggling early on. But this will be the Xibalba Storm pulling the objective now. Privative is here, fully aware of the situation, and they will just about leash it. Elion there somehow managed to step out the radius just in time before they got locked down. But that was an attempt from the Storm, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see another attempt in these upcoming minutes.
Yeah, they have to get rid of Privative, because he's just been detrimental to them doing what they want to do. That's just the... Oh, whoa, Nehu's actually in a lot of trouble here.
Oh, the jet stream was perfectly placed and waited until after the crushing waves so that Slash could typhoon down Nehu. Now, again, they've got a window at this Gold Fury, but Elion's so low, looks like they won't be attempting it just yet.
Yeah, don't think they can do. Again, with Privative being that silence field is too much for them to deal with in terms of getting this objective. That lockdown that he can provide just will put Elion, or whoever's tanking the Gold Fury, into such a bad position that they can't risk it until they manage to find a pick on Privative.
Well, who else will they look to pick next, I wonder? Because it's just too hard to take this objective. A nice combination there from Snetty. Puts Delny in some danger, takes a couple of tower shots for their troubles. Bitey, though, might also be in danger. Doesn't connect with the root. There's the Wild Hunt under Rinjaru, but a nice knock-up. Good Aegis as well, keeps them alive for a moment. But it is just a moment as Rinjaru snipes down the remaining health. But nice dodge there from Slash. Rinjaru reads it out, though. Some good damage onto this Ram, and Elion will take them down with a Defender of Olympus, so trading out the carries on this left-hand side of the map of both teams.
Yeah, both of them down. That is important for Xibalba Storm to manage to take down Rinjaru just to keep the Hunter at level. Oh, great escape there.
Great escape, but now they need to peel for their support. Good Typhoon knockup is pretty good. Some damage onto Jingaru as well. Going in one at a time, alternating aggression here from the Xibalba Storm on this left-hand side. There's really nothing to fight over, guys. Well, I'm not sure what everyone wants to go for, but both teams clearly not happy with the pace of this game so far.
Hey, you're talking to a jungler and a soul laner at heart. They are, if there's one thing that those two roles are born to do, it is, I want to fight, 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 fight. One just to look good for stat padding in the end game, and the other one just to try and get kills.
Well, that's what junglers tend to do, so I wonder if that mentality is still slipping on through. Now, both Elion and Privative looking to do this slow, double-stacking style of tank build, right? As we have the Gauntlet of Thieves and Prophetic Cloak, but doing it in the alternate order, both sides. Would you have a preference on this one, AJ? Is there any one you think is a little bit stronger?
I think getting the Prophetic Cloak online earlier is better, considering just how difficult that thing is to get fully stacked. You need to spend almost the entire game to get it done. If you're building it second, chances are you don't have it stacked by the time your team ends.
Pyromancer going to be taken away for free now by the Athenian Sages. The Xibalba Storm baited away as the attention was on Rinjaru and Privative. Do they opt to go for this Gold Fury instead? There's a grouping nearby. It seems they're more concerned about where Nehu is. Now, the timer's sort of run out for them to sneak this away. Don't opt to take the fight either. And now the Athenian Sages have actually climbed back into the lead on the gold charts.
Yeah, 1,000 gold in the lead, or just around there, about maybe closer to 900. Fluctuate between that sort of value. Experience difference still looks like it is in favor of Xibalba Storm, and indeed it is 1,500 looks to be for them. So overall, very even game between these two, which is different from what we saw in game number 1. And once again, I think that's just attributed to these drafts. I think Xibalba Storm look a lot more comfortable with these picks than they did in the previous game.
Yeah, they seem a lot happier. And Privative now getting plucked into some danger. Slash goes back in yet again. Now some damage on the tank means they might now look for this Gold Fury finally. But no, Elion dashes right back in. This time catches Rinjaru. No beads available. There is the Wild Hunt, but a good silence will stop any further follow-up damage. Slash gets in. Slash with the Typhoon will take down Rinjaru before they can lift up into the sky. Elion dashing on in to lead the charge forward for Slash to get another kill. But Nehu sweeps on through with a crushing wave or two. Double knockup from Jengaru. Who is their target? It looks like it will be Slash, but Briz is low also. Who will they take down? Jengaru jumps on in, gets the feather step onto one, but a stun from Briz will be enough, though. That's the beads coming through. Moonlit charge comes out. Aegis out from Briz. A good fight for the Xibalba Storm as they take down 2 and only lose Elion.
Yeah, but they can't get anything for it. In fact, they lose a tower. Holding engagement. How did they do the fact they're losing 2 towers? They have a phenomenal fight over on the left-hand side, above the Gold Fury, and they end up losing tier 1 tower in mid and soul lane. Science cannot explain this. It will never be able to explain this.
It just doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense. But it was a good fight finally for the Storm. That's something we haven't seen too much of in this set so far, is an actual good full-on engagement. Now, Privative again getting aggressed on, but it's quite hard to take down this Nox still. Does have a fully stacked Gauntlet of Thieves Ghost, and actually went for the Spirit Roll instead of that Prophetic Cloak. So some mitigations coming online too. Might explain why this Nox is so difficult to take down. Yet somehow the Gold Fury still stands 16 minutes into this game.
I'd love to pick up on the Spirit's Robe. What's the main engage from Xibalba Storm? Taunt. What's some of the other engages? Well, you're going to have a pull-in or a knock-up from Slash or a stun from Briz. All of them will proc the Spirit's Robe, and all of them will mean that the follow-up damage coming out from either the taunts, especially, it's just going to be mitigated by, was it 10%, 15% mitigation? Yep. It is huge on that item.
Yeah, it's really effective, right? And we've also seen the discussion over whether you go heroism or compassion. But hey, who thought they need some compassion from the Xibalba Storm if they want to get out alive here? Not quite enough damage, but with Delny on the rotation over, now it looks like sending Nehu back is the goal to go get set up for this Gold Fury, getting still aggressive at this green buff. Renjaru over here with Primitive still. Finally, Gold Fury started up. Looks like it's a split push. The Sages are semi giving this one up. Is there anything to come through to steal? No, it shall not. The Xibalba Storm get the Gold Fury. Trade out a tier 2 tower in the meantime, and maybe even a Phoenix as well. Look, Snatty and Jengaru going in for this. They don't have the minions with them, but they almost sensed an opportunity there.
They don't have the minions, and they use the Ruining Bomb to take down that tier 2 tower by the looks of things. As we see, this tower on the left-hand side is going to fall down in trade, but still, in front are the Athenian Sages. In fact, they're going to go for round 2, second bomb coming up. That's just what the chef ordered here for the Athenian Sages.
Right-hand side of the map belongs to the Sages, but the left-hand side of the map belongs to the Xibalba Storm. I wonder how the mid laners will fare throughout all this, as I haven't seen that much impact from them just yet. You know, we do see them. In fact, we see Briz the lowest on the player damage charts right now in the entire game, so not been too involved just yet. Bitey gets the dash cancelled by a silence, but Elion will be in. That's a nice little dash and then a blink onto Renjaru. They have a good CC chain, but the Wild Hunt gets used with Purification Bead. Slash sees an opportunity though. There's the jet stream forward, gets the pluck in. This will take down Renjaru, and Primitive shall fall to Bitey. In the meantime, this left-hand side of the map is Storm territory. Sages get booted out.
It's very windy over here on the left-hand side of the map. It's stormy weather and it's going to continue to blow down this left-hand side. In fact, the tier 2 is going to be the one that's next up to be just completely taken down by the Xibalba Storm. And there it does fall. Nothing that the Athenian Sages can do about this.
Well, what they can do about it is try to push on the right-hand side of the map, because that's what Snatty's doing. Wants no involvement on that left-hand side, and will backbait Delny into getting a quick knock-up there. But now, how can the Storm convert this, right? They've got a massive lead, at least territorially, on the left-hand side of the map. It doesn't quite show out through the gold charts, though. It is still a very even game, as you would expect when both sides are down. But the dual lane, you know, there's two members there. You'd think there'd be more of a lead on that side, but it's not quite there yet. And the important thing in terms of the Sages, the all-important objective, the Fire Giants, on their side of the map right now.
Yeah, well, Xibalba Storm, they need to do exactly what a Storm would do. Just go from a high-pressure to a low-pressure situation. Take this left-hand side lead that you've got, move it over to this right-hand side. Put Bitey and Elion over here on this right-hand side.
Well, Alpha Jackal, the meteorologist here, is explaining exactly what the Storm will be looking to do, and they shall catch Snatty on the dash out. Briz with the stun. Snatty's going to take some taken down. The huge heal comes out, and a massive Night Terror as well will reduce all the damage. But does that mean that the Fire Giant is available for the Storm? It looks like they think so. As we do see split pushing on the left and right hand side. Not a huge contention coming out from the Sages. Primitive with no ult available. Snatty on the TP back in. We'll get the knockup on the Bitey. This will slow down the DPS. Fire Giant is very, very low. Wild Hunt comes out early. Let's get Excavate as well. The Sages managed to steal it away, and Delny shall fall for that all. Meanwhile, Jengaru not involved in the fight. Splits on the right. Renjaru not involved in the fight. Splits down the left. It is all blown to pieces from the Xibalba Storm. And Renjaru's laughing from the sky. Goes on up to left, and they roll in and take down Elion. Jengaru now cleans up Slash. Where did it go wrong for the Storm?
It's... Talk about a collapse. That was monumentally destructive there.
Oh my goodness, the graph!
I've not seen a crash this big since the Wall Street crash of 1929. That was huge. The graph just goes...
Man, you're old. And it's a crash, though. Look at that. Oh, God, I can't quite put into words how disastrous that is. Look at the map state right now. This is something you expect from a team that's being dominated. The Xibalba Storm, in the blink of an eye, are now in a worse state than they were 21 minutes into game number 1. There's unbelievable turnaround from the Sages there.
you just cannot see any way that goes worse for them. 2 Phoenixes lost, Fire Giant lost. I mean, kills going across the board as well. Just Ranjaru's diving in just to prove a point that he can kill Elion as well and bait and slash for another death. Oh my god, that is heartbreaking, demoralizing, brutal. Any sort of adjective of those, you can apply it to this situation.
It's shocking. This was an even game. All of a sudden, Storm find a little bit of a lead, and they're just in so much trouble now. The Storm, there are fire Oni waves coming down the left and right side. The Athenian Sages have another runic bomb to maybe take down this mid lane Phoenix, and we could be looking at a sub 30-minute game for the Sages. When, if anything, it was looking like more like that was going to happen for the Storm. It's just an incredible turnaround the Sages have pulled here.
If you're going to feel for anybody, you've got to feel for Slash. I mean, 8-2-1. He's done everything he can do in this game to put Xibalba Storm on the front foot, to give them hope and give them an opportunity to win this game. And it could all be for naught just because of one simple minute for Xibalba Storm where it all went wrong.